Another sad event. I've flown quite a bit out of Jakarta, and I looked on the flight radar, the tracking that the aircraft did after it took off. It didn't crash immediately after takeoff, and it followed the standard instrument departure for the first couple of minutes. It seemed to be exactly flying normally on climb at a climb speed of 280 knots, with the undercarriage up, flap up, everything going normal. I just surprised, as it passed 10,000 feet on the third minute mark, it suddenly went out of control and hit the sea a minute later. And that suggests some sudden violent event. And can only speculate at this stage, but perhaps struck by lightning, because it's the monsoon season there and there's a lot of build-ups and thunderstorms in the afternoon. If it was struck by lightning and the instruments on the captain's side failed, which happens, it's not totally unknown, and the autopilot disconnected as a result, and the pilot then lost control, or, structural failure, unless there's something weird happening, doesn't happen to these aeroplanes. It really is bears a lot of thinking about, and I just think we have to wait until we get the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder.
And those black boxes have been located, just not retrieved yet. How long can we usually expect it to take to be able to retrieve these?
Oh, well, normally they're shipped over to America, and they can do it in a matter of days. So hopefully within a week we'll know what happened. But I really suspect the aeroplane was 26 years old, but they're a solid old airplane and very reliable. The problem, I think, more based on what I know about third-level airlines, is that an event happened that the pilot wasn't trained for, and as a result, he lost control. Perhaps the only other alternative is a bomb, but I don't think that would happen in a low-level, low-cost airline like that.
Certainly pointing to a freak accident. What do we know about this airline safety record, though?
Yeah, well, it was formed in 2003, Andrea. It's what you call a low-cost airline, and it's basically Indonesia's known as being basically an unregulated environment. And when you look at the crashes that have occurred in Indonesia and Africa with these low-cost carriers, it really all revolves around to the fact that it's poor pilot training. Now, you can't blame a pilot if he can't handle a sudden emergency, because it's not his fault if he hasn't been trained for it. And I found over the years that these low-cost airlines, it's the bottom line that counts. They skimp on training. And I suspect myself that this is what's happened, that a sudden event has happened that caused the pilots not to be able to handle it. It's very sad.
It certainly is extremely tragic, particularly for all of those on board and their families. But this particular crash, depending on what is found as to what caused it, what could it mean for future flights?
Yeah, what could it mean? Well, 26-year-old airplane is getting on, but if they're well maintained, Boeing and Airbus, they're pretty safe. What it means is we have to look more closely at pilot training. If it turns out that there was an emergency that caused loss of control. And, what can you do with these countries that just have a problem with the finances and pilot training?